This is the KJ Singh Show with your host, KJ Singh. So I'm going to reveal to you the winner of the latest rap battle that's been on our screens, between Drake and the GOAT Kendrick Lamar. Or am I? Because yes, that was a guilty pleasure that I was invested in a week ago when I was just watching the back and forth between these rappers. But none of that matters. It's all just petty nonsense. It's entertainment, of course, but when it comes to the genocide that is happening right now in Gaza, that pales in comparison, to say the very least. And one rapper who I really respect and the winner of the rap battle is Macklemore, because he released Hins Hall, which is the culmination and a summary of what's happening right now with regards to the student protesters fighting against and resisting against this narrative, this normalization of a genocide inflicted on the Gazan people right now. And I'm so proud of Macklemore. I didn't really know him that much. I mean, I've heard of his, his big hits, and I could recognize his music if it was playing on the radio. But I have a lot more respect after his release of this solidarity song, this anthem, which some people are calling for the Gaza, resistance, Gaza, self-determination of the Palestinian people. I have so much respect for this artist, this musician, because whilst, yes, technically you had this back and forth between Drake and Kendrick Lamar, in the end, it was really just, you could admire their lyricism, you could admire their pun, you could admire their insults, you could even, say, oh, one man got more, more disses out of the other, and one man was called a PDF file. But it's all petty, really. It's nonsense. It's like teenage, drama. It's like, these people are quite silly. And people are getting hurt over it. Drake's bodyguard got shot and was in critical condition for a while. But none of that is important compared to what's happening in Gaza. And I don't know any other mainstream artist, apart from Charlotte Church, although Charlotte Church, she's you kind of would expect somebody who has that kind of new age bent, and somebody who isn't in the limelight currently, to be able to take some risks. But I wouldn't undermine what she's doing. I have a lot of respect for Charlotte Church, but Macklemore, somebody who's like this mainstream artist who won the Grammy, somebody who took the Grammy from Kendrick Lamar several years ago. I mean, mad props, and it's so well written in terms of you can follow it through. There's no double entendre. There's no confusion as to the lyrics. It's straightforward, straight from the heart, but well written. You can tell like this man knows what he's talking about from and if you don't know what I'm talking about right now, the hints hold, go search after this video or during video, you just go search Macklemore Hins Hall. It is the rap banger of the year, because not least because of the lyricism, but because it actually illustrates what's happening right now in Gaza and has advocates for solidarity with the Palestinian people. And it makes, it kind of like explains a lot of things simply but succinctly, and packs a lot, a lot of the concerns that a lot of people have as normies. And, this is a song that may convert a large proportion of normies, because not everyone is politically literate, unfortunately, even though everything is political, everything political, like everything that, politicians talk about these days are stopping the boats or immigration or crime or, culture wars against, this transphobic hatred hatred towards transphobia, transgender people. All of it is, hinging on these cultural issues by these politicians and the media, and all of it is important. And there are some people who say, I'm not very political. I'm not a political kind of guy. Politics isn't for me. But everything's political. Even the very notion that you don't follow politics is a political statement. It just shows that you, let's say, not particularly well educated enough to understand political reality, what's going on. But to break down this song, Hinto, I won't do it line by line, but a few standout points where he, in the first instance, he talked about it's not not about protest, about what you're protesting. That's crucial, which the media doesn't seem to, and politicians don't seem to acknowledge. And the bad faith attacks on the protests, as if they are the ones who should be, criticized rather than punished, rather than those who are dropping those 2,000-pound bombs on a largely civilian population in the Gaza Strip, as well as the expansion of illegal settlements in West Bank. I mean, give me a break. This is the mock moral outrage. It's the concoction of a new form of McCarthyism. And when I talk about McCarthyism, it's in during the Cold War era between Soviet Russia, Soviet Union, and the US. There was this kind of Red Scare propaganda. When I talk about red, I'm talking about communism. Scare propaganda about politicians in the US. When they are having disagreements, they would smear the other as communist kind of spy, or this external force that is having an influence on politics. It's just a really right wing smear campaign, and that's what's happening. With the current protest. They're being there was a senator from the US who called it these encampments, these student encampments at universities. He called them little Gazas. It's and if you were to actually translate that literally, it'd mean that these student encampments are victims of a genocidal campaign. But they, thinking deeply or nuance isn't really the strong game of politicians, especially for those on the right. But line by line, he talks about divesting. It's all like divesting, which is super important. Like, this is something that's overlooked because that's the whole point of the student protest, for the respective universities to divest from their programs that are complicit with this genocidal occupation nation, apartheid nation. Every students have the right to divest, and students are the moral compass a lot of the time in in the past, and they are currently the moral compass right now. I just saw a speech by Joe Biden where he talked about the problem of anti-Semitism, and a couple of days ago with Holocaust Remembrance Day, and the language that he used couldn't have been more ironic, because he's talking about he took his. I might do a video on this in the future. He took his grandparents to Dachau and these former Holocaust camps, and he said never will there be complicity of silence. We need to not repeat this again, and never overlook this the kind of the creeping kind of rhetoric or propaganda. And that's exactly what's happening now. That's exactly what's happening right now. And this is what Naomi Klein calls, an adoption of a rule rather than a principle. Because the Holocaust was bad, not because it happened to a certain group of people. It wasn't bad because it happened to a specific ethnicity. It was bad because it happened to be a culmination of a representation of us versus them. It was a othering process of whoever happened to be the scapegoat at that time. In this moment in time, the scapegoat right now are the Palestinian people. Of course, is the facade of Hamas are really just representing the Palestinian people, because we can all hear what the Israeli representatives and the politicians and the officials are saying. You're saying there's no differentiation between Hamas and Palestinians. Come on, give me a break. So we are seeing the otherization, the us versus them dynamic, the creation of a monolith of the entire Palestinian population as this entity that is not even part of our own species, which is ridiculous. It's the same kind of. It's not. I wouldn't go so far as to say it is the Nazi rhetoric. It's a history does not repeat, but it rhymes. And this is a rhyme. It's a repetition of the same methodology of thinking, the thought patterns of us versus them, us versus the enemy, and the nameless, faceless enemy, the boogeyman. That's what happens when you dehumanize a whole nation, and you've done so for 75 years. And how they respond is obviously I wouldn't condone what happened on October 7th, but as Norman Finkelstein would remark, like what would they have done? This is an expression of largely young adult population who were born and bred in a concentration camp, in a blockade whereby 70% of factories had to close down, 50% of the people had to be made unemployed, 97% of the water was undrinkable, where this occupation nation was controlling what came in, what came out of this nation. And luckily, we've got Macklemore who brings it back. It's not about anti-Semitism, not at all. It's actually moral clarity, which means the people who are fighting against the occupation nation, committing genocide, would be the ones who would be fighting against Nazi Germany. This is moral clarity. This is the furthest thing away from anti-Semitism. It's anti-Zionism, and especially the anti-Zionism, the sort of anti-Zionism is the sort of ethnocentric Zionism, which means that you're taking over somebody's land, and you're spreading this kind of othering element, this monolith of us as a special people, as the light, and others as dark. Is as far as you go as as extreme genocidal rhetoric. The only reason why it's not on the same part level as Holocaust is because we already know that Holocaust happening. There are implications for Israel if they were to a more serious situation. But it seems like my microphone turned off for a little while. Hopefully that last bit went well. But I like the fact that Macklemore talked about the differentiation between anti-Semitism and Zionism, and he talked about the Jewish students who were also involved. In fact, a third of Jewish students in last I read a study, a third of Jewish students who are arrested for anti-Semitism, or third of people who are arrested for anti-Semitism are Jewish. 20% of those who were investigated in Labour were Jewish during this kind of witch hunt campaign. We're seeing a disproportionately large number of people who are protesting against the Holocaust or genocide or apartheid as Jewish. So let's not beat around the bush. Let's not this, when Jewish people comprise such a small proportion of people, it just means and they are a large proportion of people who are being arrested for this situation. It means that Jewish people are more vociferously against this situation than they are for it, or rather, they comprise a lot of the time the spearhead of the campaigns against it. And Macklemore explains this. I liked the beats, how it flowed well as well. I heard another kind of influencer socialist type guy, Hassan Abi, called it a bit cringe. I think the fact that you would just discount it and you'd call it. I mean, he didn't. He wasn't loud and proud about it. He just said it was a cringe, and he just moved on. So I'm not going to be verbally attack him for it, but I just think it's a bit cringe to not see the importance of this song. You've got Palestinians who are literally celebrating this day in, day out, celebrating the song because it provides like a light in the darkness. It's inspiration. And you need a song like this for the normies too. You need to, turn people's hearts and minds. There's more to be said about this, but this is probably why I'm going to do some streaming in the future, because there's a lot to discuss when it comes to analyzing these events and these cultural events and news items and current events. So I may do streaming in the future, but for now, go watch that song. Go watch it on, but also watch it on not just Instagram and Twitter, which have garnered collectively about 30, 40, thousand, not 30, 40 million views. On YouTube, it's been age restricted, perhaps as a measure to reduce and buffer against the spread of this, and it's only received about 1 or 2 million. So please watch it on YouTube as well. But yeah, it's amazing, and I may discuss this further in the future, as well as the ongoing Rafah situation. Please watch my latest short on the Rafah situation, because right now, after Hamas agreed to a ceasefire deal, Israel still went on and attacked Rafah and started, close the Rafah crossing, cut off aid. It's really just a situation. It's like watching a horror film whereby a family are locked in with a monster. But anyways, more on this in the future, as for the next months or even years. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, comment, and subscribe. That'd be very much appreciated. Thank you.